We are searching the scriptures for those directions that God gives us, which contain a special promise from the Lord that will especially affect our future. Good morning. This is Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisseton, Illinois, with your thoughts for Wednesday. You know, God calls for us to trust in Him completely, for guidance, to depend on Him first of all, and all those things that He can meet our needs, and we will not have to worry. But God also commands that man should pray to Him regularly. We know Jesus gave His followers that model prayer in the New Testament in order to cover the things that we needed to bring to God. In the Old Testament, we find multiple examples of those faithful servants who built altars all over the world, wherever they went, to memorialize the fact that they were calling upon their God. And the Apostle Paul admonishes the church at Thessalonica to pursue what is good, to rejoice always, and to pray without ceasing. So when we see this command in Jeremiah, we also read the promise that comes with it. Call unto me, and I will answer you, and show you great and mighty things which you do not know. That's Jeremiah 33:3. These words were given to Jeremiah during a time that Judah and Israel were being held captive by a powerful neighboring nation. These verses also remind us that Jeremiah himself was being held in the court of the prison. Yet they were not to be lax on praying to their God. Sometimes when we're in tough circumstances, we struggle to find relief, but we never take that problem or that state of affairs to our God. Unfortunately, that old adage that says, when all else fails, try prayer, it may be truer than we care to admit. But God has made Himself available for those who will call out to Him in their distress. Of course, we don't need to be in distress to call upon the Lord. His command here to call unto me is simply a desire for man to seek his Maker. The Almighty God wants to have an intimate relationship with us who will trust in Him. And we find His promise is twofold. First of all, He will answer our prayer. You know, we may often call someone or text them, try to get a hold of someone, and all we hear are crickets. There is no answer. This person doesn't seem to acknowledge that we're trying to reach them. God not only hears our prayer, but in His omniscience, He knows our every request, even the desires of our heart. Then He gives us that big promise as a reward for calling upon Him. I will show you great and mighty things which you do not know. That means beyond our wildest imagination. You know, when Paul and Silas were in prison in Philippi in Acts chapter 16, do you think they were expecting an earthquake whenever they prayed? God says, you cry out to me, and I will handle the situation in a grand way, probably beyond your thinking. I even wonder when the blind cried out to Jesus in the New Testament, did they really expect to receive their sight after living so many years that way? Sometimes our prayer doesn't really carry the weight of faith that God is looking for. But we're not to be timid. We are not to be doubting when we call upon Him, because He promises, I will answer your prayer, and I will show you great and mighty things you don't even know. He will do above all that we ask or even imagine to move in the midst of our circumstances.